everybody, and welcome back to another great edition of my Grue Rume Show. And for the Grue Rume Show today, we got two very special guests, and they're brothers, and they wrote and direct this horror film that's out, the Retaliators. I am Rocco Cross, as you could tell. I am the host at Stutters. I am the host of the Grue Rume, and my interview with the Geare Brothers will be coming up very soon. This is my Grue Rume, and as always, everybody, welcome to my nightmare. Stay tuned.
All punctual.
Okay, guys. Thanks for coming on the show, and welcome to Grue, and thanks again for coming on and talking about the film.
Absolutely, man. We're stoked.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah.
Can I ask you one question real quick?
Yeah, sure. Of course.
What's the Grue? Where does the name Grue come from?
From the word gruesome, because I'm a big horror guy.
Okay, it's a philosophy thing, dude. I'm not even gonna go into it, but there's a very famous philosophy term called Grue. It's a color.
Oh, get out, really?
Yeah. It's really weird. I was like, there's no way, but I'm just gonna ask.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Nelson Goodman. Anyway, yeah, we'll get back. I'll cut it.
Yeah, it's just something that's fast and simple. Like I'm a big horror fan, and short and gruesome to Grue, and make room and spell
like it
wrong, and
yeah, that's cool, dude. I love it. Yeah, I'm into it.
Awesome, thank you. So the first thing I want to start out asking you both is just for anyone who don't know about the film or seen the film, can you tell us a little bit about what the horror film is about?
Yeah, it's the Retaliators is about an upstanding pastor in a small town who's sort of a throwback, a throwback good guy, sort of a Tom Hanks, like a Tom Hanks from like an 80s or a 90s movie, or like a Jimmy Stewart in like a Frank Capra movie, just like a good guy, a guy everyone in the town loves.
Yeah.
He's a single dad with two young daughters, and he's a pastor, and he is very much he's very much a big a turn the other cheek kind of guy, obviously, being a pastor, and then one night his daughter is killed in pretty ruthlessly in cold blood. And that sends the pastor down a pretty wild ride, as he starts now. It's one thing to preach turning the other cheek, and then now that he's confronted with this horrific thing that happens to him, now vengeance becomes something that he gets tempted with. And then that unleashes sort of a sort of a whole underworld of horrors that sort of that sort of gets unleashed, kind of Evil Dead style,
Yes.
in pretty gruesome fashion. So that's sort of what the movie's about.
I know. I love it. It's awesome. And what inspired you both to want to write it and make it?
Want to take it, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a couple components here, but certainly one of the big influences for wanting to do the movie was just our mutual love of movies. Darren, I grew up with Darren as my big brother.
Yeah.
And he was really my kind of my movie guru. These are the Glengarrys. You know what I mean? Like basically he showed me these are the the cool movies. So he was showing me like Quentin Tarantino and or like The Hitcher and
Yes.
all these kids, all these movies, seeing these movies as a kid and just thinking like these movies just blowing my mind, and me and Darren, we didn't like he was an actor, he was a working actor, and yeah, actually made some really good stuff while he was doing that. Between since he was a kid up until his, I guess, your early 20s, Darren, somewhere around there.
Yeah, to my early 20s. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we were in a band, and then
Oh,
after,
sweet.
yeah, we were in an indie rock band called Hong Kong Six.
Oh my God. Okay.
On Spotify,
Nice.
just throwing a little. We still haven't made any money back on that, but if you buy now, I'm just kidding.
Hong Kong 6. I like that name.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun, man. We had a great time doing that. It just, it's like all bands. They just, it's hard to keep that many people together, and
Yeah, of course.
But and then we just, Darren got married, had kids. I went to college, and we got 8-to-5ers and just trying to, do that sort of thing. And Darren literally came to me one day and was like, dude, and meanwhile, me and him, we'd have movie nights and stuff. We were still loving movies.
Oh yeah, of course.
And but we weren't like thinking of filmmaking at this point, seriously anyway. And then one day he came to me, he goes, dude, you want to, like, will you just write screenplays with me? Like, let's write movies. We both, I think we could both write movies. Let's, with our love of movies and how we've written before, other things. And so,
because we grew up making these like ridiculous short films to entertain ourselves and our friends. We would we would make these films. We talk about it all the time. We're like, thank God there was no YouTube back then.
These were not.
These were
not PC.
These were exploitation films. These were exploitation films just to truly make how much can we make our friends laugh? How extreme can we make them? How ridiculous can we make it?
And we had premieres. We'd have premieres, like full blown.
Oh yeah, we would.
Mind you, the way that Darren,
everybody we knew. We took it very seriously,
I gotta say this. Darren would go so out of his way to make the premieres special.
Yeah.
It's like we didn't have like editing equipment, right? Darren was just he was like the videographer for this, and really in effect the director and head writer, and we chimed in with lines and stuff. But he would set up the premiere so that so he didn't have any really good editing equipment, right? So he wasn't tracking music over it. So he had this big, we'd get everyone packed into the room, like 20 of us, and he'd have his stereo linked, queued up, okay, Beach Boys need to come on right here with guys frolicking on the beach, it's like, just all kinds of stuff, So Darren made it really special back then.
Oh my God, that is funny.
I acted in it, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. So where were we? Yeah, sorry.
That's all
we're brothers. It's hard not to go down memory lane when we're like brothers,
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
I know.
You're asking us about how we got into writing. It's like, well, we just have really loved movies and made our own little movies when we were younger, and we finally got around to it and said, let's take it seriously. And we did. And we started, we wrote, there were a few like aborted attempts, but it was never just outright, like we're quitting this idea. What happened was we kind of bounced around a few ideas and we get stuck or whatever. And, I remember one of those times we got stuck, we keep like a very long list of like, story ideas.
Oh, okay.
I was going through it with Darren in the car, and because we were stuck on, I think, on a puzzle in one of our other scripts, and that we were trying to get off the ground. We hadn't actually written any of it. It was all in the outlining stage. And I was going through his what they're called log lines, just little descriptions of the idea. And one of them, I saw one of them was called The Retaliators. Darren had entered into there. And I was like, dude, it just struck me like, man, this sounds like a fucking punk rock band or something. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Sounds like one of those.
It just sounds like a great
Yeah.
Sounds like a great canon movie. You know, it's like a
Yeah,
total canon.
totally.
You know,
Totally.
VHS, right?
Yeah, some knockoff name, like the
Yeah,
Violators or what do you know? It's
yeah,
like, so anyway, and then I read the description and that intrigued me. Yeah, I don't know how much I want to say for people who haven't seen it, but the description of it was really it conveyed really the heart of the movie, and it was, basically it wasn't it was
Well,
it was
it
yeah,
was
what was the
essentially
original
what if
logline?
it was essentially what if somebody offered you 1 minute alone with the man who murdered your daughter? Would you
Oh,
take it? I mean, that
That's a
was
good way to
the
put it. That's a good way
essential
to put it. Yeah.
question
I don't
of
want
the
to give away
movie.
yeah,
Without
how that
giving
gets
too much
resolved.
away.
Yeah.
And it was because that's sort of the fun of the movie. And
mhm.
we sort of got that right away. And the really sort of crazy odyssey of this whole movie getting made is that it's based on real events in our family, and that's
Oh,
what's sort of loosely based. So where that log line and title came from, because Jeff did find it randomly going through log lines, and where that came from was our sister Jody. So now on a totally crazy other now very real life and serious path, years before, when she was I think she was still like 19 years old. She was coming home, and this is straight out of sounds straight out of a horror movie, but this actually happened.
Yeah.
She was 19 years old, coming home from a friend's house, and she up in Northern California, and she was within like a block of her house, but it was right near this little stretch, right in this like beautiful forest kind of town, but it was near this kind of stretch of highway. And she heard, and it was like 1:30 in the morning, she heard really loud running steps behind her. And so she thought, in her head, she thought, oh wow, someone's jogging really late at night. And next thing she knows, she was tackled full force down and was tackled down a 20-foot ravine. And she was proceeded to be truly almost killed. She was raped. She literally was, I mean, within inches of her life. Complete miracle she survived that kind of attack.
Wow.
Statistically, very, very few people would ever survive. And she literally crawled out of this ravine and flagged down a car and survived this attack miraculously. The
Oh
guy
my
was
God.
not caught.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy story. So the guy was not caught at the time. And obviously it was an extremely traumatic situation for her and for the family and everything else. And in subsequent years, she 12 years later,
Mhm.
through advancements in DNA, they found the guy
Oh, good.
out of nowhere, right? And they found him trying to do this to someone else. And the crazy thing is, trying to do this within a block of the same area 12 years later. So the real scary part was, how many other people had he had he tried to do this to in all these years? And the real freaky part is, they don't know. They were able to prosecute him on those two cases,
Yeah.
our sisters being one of them. But this really scary part is, they don't know how many in those 12 years. Anyway, so then her trial happened.
Mhm.
And it's easy in the movies or on a documentary to see the trial, and it kind of just blips by.
Yeah.
But in real life, a trial goes on and on and
Oh,
on
yeah.
for years. And when you're dealing with something really harrowing like this, it's just brutal for obviously for our sister, and then it's just really, really hard on the family. And so it was through the trial, and I was being like a shoulder for my dad, who was at the trial every single day.
Yeah.
And he would call me at night, and you know, and I have a daughter, and so I'm like listening to him, and you know, and her name's Jody, and by the way, she very much, and I'll get into it in a minute, is very, very big on wanting her name to be out there. Jody being our sister, and then I have a daughter, so this was like, you know, brutal, having to hear all these details, and then having to think about my dad and what he's going through. So I had this flash of an idea in listening to my dad of, oh God, what if there was just, you know, this service that gave you 1 minute alone, and then this title of the Retaliators just popped into my head, and I just wrote it down, and I just tucked it aside, and I didn't really put too much thought into it. And then what was really weird was, and then so to put that aside for a second, the good news is, with all of that, he ended up getting convicted and put away basically for life. So
Good. Good. Okay.
essentially, he'll probably die in prison.
Yeah.
If he were to get released, he'd be a really old man, and hopefully through parole and everything, we'll keep him in there. But he was convicted on all of that, and attempted murder and all of that.
Okay,
so that's good.
Good.
That's the real happy ending. What ended up happening was Jody ended up doing press, and Jody ended up becoming, through all these years, she ended up becoming not only a firefighter, but she ended up becoming a captain, a firefighter captain. So she's this really, she's this really successful firefighter captain. And I guess statistically, female firefighter captains are like very, very rare.
Yeah.
And she's just this badass, firefighter captain, and just a really successful, happy person. And she's, engaged and just doing really well. She, more importantly than anything, she survived and got through many, many rough years of PTSD through her ordeal, right?
Yeah.
And wanted to be her story to get out, and to be an inspiration. And so she came to me and Jeff and said, "Hey, do you know anybody in the documentary space that might be interested in my story, or do you know anyone?" And so I made some calls, and I knew there was no way I could do that documentary, or I would be because there's just no way I could. I mean, I was reliving it all over again in real life. There was no way we could be a impartial, documentarian with any of that. But I had the crazy idea, and I went to her and I said, "Jody, if you think this is a completely crazy idea, let me know, and I'll never bring it up again." I said, "Jeff and I have a movie idea based on your story. It's not your story, but it's inspired by your story." And I said, we couldn't tell your exact story because there's just no way I could live in that. And I said, but we could certainly tell a story inspired by your story, and I would be more than happy to get your name out and to put, and she goes, "I don't care how my name gets out. And if you 100% have my blessing to do that." And because we sort of expressed to her, like, listen, we would need to sort of be able to artistically, if we were really going to do this, and if it were ever going to become anything, we would need to follow our sort of, our love of sort of exploitation and horror and
Yeah.
sort of action and grindhouse and all that stuff. And it's sort of a weird combination for something rooted in a personal story. But here we are full circle, and it's been such a wild ride because we got to full circle get the movie made, and Jody to this day has now been to two she's been to film festivals and premieres. She's been on red carpets.
Oh my God. Wow.
She's been interviewed, and she's got to speak, and we got to watch, people come up to her and say, oh my gosh, you were, very, I went through XYZ in my life. And so this was a very, moving, thing, because she's quite a amazing person. She went through a lot, but, she's as strong and as confident as any, you would never know she suffered from the PSD she did. So she really loves showing you can get through it, because she was really, really in a bad place. And so it's been this very cathartic, sort of crazy experience. I know it's a long answer to the question.
It's good. Yeah,
wild journey as far as the inspiration.
That really is wild. Wow. She's definitely strong. I mean, to go through something like that and live through it and trials, and wow, she's definitely a strong person.
Yeah, she's a real hero. Yeah. She's a real life hero.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Wow. Okay, I'm trying to focus on my questions now after hearing that. Wow. Okay, and so the movie is like, it pays homage to like the old school horror, like the gore fest films. And what old school horror gore fest films do you guys like?
Oh man, so many. We for the ones that were certainly we're big into the splatter stuff, obviously from the 80s, like love a lot of the like he's sort of, again, what I mentioned Canon before. We're big fans of, a lot of the Canon movies and things like that. Going back to the 70s, love all the stuff back there. I mean, I got Jeff to do Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh yeah.
How much did you get through, Jeff?
I haven't made it through Cannibal Holocaust.
How much did you get through? You got through about half of it, though, right?
Well, here's the thing.
You got through.
I didn't get halfway through. I got like a quarter way through. As soon as it started getting ugly, I was like, because it does look like an old school documentary. Dude.
I know it does. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. It is a master class in being effective. But on the other hand, it kind of cheats at being effective a little bit because they actually, de-shelled turtles and stuff. So it's like, it's like, well, that's kind of blurring the line between effective horror and like, this is just documented horror. But I have to say though, it has my all-time favorite intro to a film, opening credit intro. I mean, that song is beautiful, and the way that it's so opposite of where it's going. It's such a high contrast, and it's beautiful. They're just showing you, like, I don't know if it was shot there, but presumably the Amazon rainforest, and you're just going like, wow. And when you're not in it, it's it's the bird's eye, the God's eye view of it, and you're going, wow, it's just so beautiful and peaceful looking. And as soon as you go in, it's like, it's sort of hiding all the horrors.
Definitely.
I mean, brilliant. It's by far my favorite opening, besides maybe like fiction or something.
I love Zombie. Zombie's a great one.
Yes, that's another good one.
it's a really, really good one. Obviously the eyeball scene there, we tried to do an eyeball scene in our movie that would be up there with the great eyeball scenes in in the pantheon, and do justice. One day maybe we'll get a good underwater shark scene, but yeah, I love zombie. I mean, obviously, Evil Dead was obviously a huge. We paid
We were really
direct
hot on
homage.
that. We
Of
were like really
course.
hot on it going into it. I remember.
Yeah.
You know, it
Yeah,
was like one of those
we
movies
are-
at the
that-
time we were like, I was like, well, man, this movie's just it was just part of our conversation of loving film, and that's what's kind of funny is like there's influences that influences as a kid, horror movie,
Mhm.
but there were also just like because we just talk movies all the time, so it was kind of like what were we hot on at that time, and it was
Okay.
going back to Evil Dead, it was. And even like more contemporary movies like from Zoller, like Bone Tomahawk, and
Yes.
like so we were
Yes.
huge
Yeah.
fans of that at the time, or The Littlest Reich. Actually, I don't know if I saw that after or before, but yeah, that movie was great.
Well, we definitely had seen. We had definitely we had definitely seen Bone Tomahawk, and that was
Definitely
such a.
Bone Tomahawk.
That was a crazy film. Yeah.
Well, and that was because that was inspiring for us, because as we always talk about, like our favorite sort of move in writing, and it's sort of in all of our scripts, it's just the style we love. We just really love what we call left turns. Like we're just not twists, not twist endings, or
Yeah.
we love a movie that is really headed one way and then just really goes a drastic direction. So like obviously we love Audition, that's a big one.
Yeah, that was a good one.
It's one of the
Well,
if
Psycho,
not
yeah.
Psycho,
Psycho's kind of like the
obviously.
Oh yeah,
proto-
it's a classic.
It's like
Psycho is the
Yeah.
original,
yeah.
just the ultimate left turn.
You're in one genre than the other. But in a way that works. If it doesn't work, it's obvious when it does.
And Audition, I think, is just so great because of just that super stark contrast of just you're in this total fun romantic comedy, and then where it goes is so
I know.
sharp,
Crazy.
is crazy. I mean, we talk about all the time. I mean, I love we're big Eli Roth fans. I mean, I
Yes.
love, I think Hostel is such I'm always like, God, why do people, I just don't know why people don't talk about Hostel more. I feel like
I know,
Hostel-
right?
You're
right?
right
It's
about
like,
that. Yeah.
it's,
whatever
I mean,
reason.
I feel
At
like
least
it is
in
a,
the-
I mean, I know it's like 20 something years old at this point, but it's
Yeah,
like,
but
I would
it
put
still
that in
holds
a
up.
absolute modern masterpiece of like a new classic, where I would throw that up with anything. And I think The Left Turn, that is a brutal fucking movie. I mean,
Oh
to
my
this
God,
day,
Yes.
it just pulls no punches. Again, another great eyeball moment.
Yes, yes, it is.
But that's got great gore in it, obviously. God, you could just talk gore all day. I mean, obviously going back to Texas Chainsaw, which funny thing with Texas Chainsaw, it's not even a lot of gore in that movie, but it's more implied gore in that movie.
Yes.
But huge fans of Texas Chainsaw.
Well,
But
even like Kill Bill, like
Oh my God, yeah, that
yeah.
for an action film, that was full of gore.
Well, and just that like balls out attitude of like, fuck it, we're gonna have a climax where we go all out,
Yes. Yes.
I think my favorite.
Sorry.
My favorite splatter might be Pieces. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Oh
Jeff.
yeah, I saw
I
that.
have, I've heard you talk about it before.
It's
Yeah.
so great. Oh, it's so great. It's another chainsaw one. It's kind of funny. The kills are kind of funny, but they're just so great. Super bloody. I mean, that's the thing is like Jeff and I talk about all the time. Like our meter of good and bad is so screwed up. It's like
I know.
we
I know.
it's like when things cross over to bad, they
Yeah.
become good, and then when they get really bad, then they get really good, and then if things become unwatchable,
Right.
they sometimes become just truly unwatchable, but then sometimes the unwatchable becomes truly our absolute favorite thing to just watch over and over again. So I mean, we're just
I think there's
and then we watch it so much,
Right.
we can't see anymore. We've been on podcasts and argued the quality of films, and I'm sitting here listening to Jeff argue it, and I'll go, Jeff, we're so lost in this thing. Like we can't even argue this thing because it's like you can't even see anymore how fucking terrible it is.
No. Well,
we just
it's
love it for how horrible it is.
Well, look, I'm perfectly aware of the distinction that people try to make, and I gotta admit, it's initially plausible, obviously, between like a fun movie and a bad movie, or rather, I should say, a fun movie and a good movie. And what people try to say is like, oh, well, like these are bad movies, but I have fun watching them. Hey, you'll have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it. It's a totally natural distinction to make, but I feel like when I get so invested in the fun movie, like I'm like, you know what I mean? When you really get into it in the enjoyment of it, you start going, wait, I don't know if this is bad anymore. Like, I think I just think this is good now. Like for a movie to be that fun when it's bad, I think it sort of merits a special good badge or badge of goodness, that like, let's not leave it.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's earned a piece of the good, and not just through being this separate thing called fun. You know what I mean? It's conceptually leaked a little into the good stuff,
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe
don't get us started on the we'll get way too philosophical on you with it.
We're getting lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
And with your film, how was like working with Michael as both the lead actor and producer of the film?
The best, and he also he directed a good chunk of it too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, when people look at our credits and go, oh geez, it had 3 directors. It is unusual. It's because our film was shot literally right through COVID, and so it had such a wild journey. We at one point were the last union film shooting, and then we're shut down, and so it was a crazy trip to get the film finished. It was through the early shutdown days. So it was, we had to do different coasts, different directors. We had cast change ups. We had multiple shutdowns. Luckily, all of this was without any health incidents. So thank goodness. But and these were back in the day when there were no simple COVID tests. So this was back when COVID tests were like $10,000, to test like 5 people or whatever.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It was brutal. So Michael, because he was the guy who truly was the glue the whole time, being the lead actor, being the lead on set producer, he ended up being the guy that needed to carry it home, directing it. And
Oh,
what's funny is if you watch the scenes he directed, you would never know it wasn't any of the other directors. And
oh,
arguably it's some of the best scenes in the film. And
oh, wow.
so I mean, all of the directors did a fantastic job. They all brought their own flavor and their own style, all brought their own strengths to the film.
Yeah, it
But yeah,
makes for a really
Michael ended
unique.
up,
Yeah,
yeah, they
sorry,
all brought their own unique talents.
it makes a unique
But
batch.
to no fault of anybody's, just because of COVID and everything, it just was an insane journey to get it finished. So
Yeah,
Michael
it
was
sounds like it.
yeah, Michael was the most one of the most talented humans I've ever met. Just the most insane work ethic. First one there, last one working every day. Just always positive attitude, always leaving blood on the mat. The guy, when you see those fight scenes, you see any of the scenes where it looks like he's given it his all, he's
Yeah.
given it his all. That's him. What that performance you feel on screen, he really was giving it that 100%. I mean, it was just, it was incredible. And he's as good a human and as sweet a person as he is talented. I mean, he really is. He's really unique in that way.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I could tell you guys, I mean, you guys were in a band, a rock band. So I know you both love that kind of music. You both love rock and roll and metal. So how did you wind up getting guys on this movie like the lead singer Papa Roach and Tommy Lee from the Crew and Ivan Moody? Like how did you wind up getting all these guys together for the film?
Well, as I love to say, if you would have told 10-year-old me that Motley Crue would have done the theme song to a movie that my brother and I wrote, I would have 100% just not believed it. Every inch of my wall had Motley Crue on it when I was a little
I
kid. I mean,
love that band. Like
Well,
me too. Me
oh my
too, man.
God.
It's funny
I
too, because Darren, yeah, you came because me and Darren are sort of in this respect, not opposite, but we come from different places on this. Because see, Darren, you were like a true believer, like huge fan of Motley Crue when you were.
Yes.
oh yeah.
And what's funny is, see, I knew Motley Crue because I grew up in, like, when I was Darren's age, when he was in the Motley Crue, I was,
Yeah.
Nirvana was coming out and all that. So those were my bands. And
Right.
not just that. So I wasn't like into them, but here was my connection to them. VH1, I mean, dude, their old series of Behind the Musics were
Oh my God, I
so
know.
Oh, they
fucking
were
good, dude.
great.
The Motley Crue one, that was one of the most
That was the best one.
watchable one. It
that
was the best one.
best one.
And it was like Nikki Sixx just being like, and there was
He's the man.
blood down my arm cooling
Yeah.
at the end. And I'd just be like, dude, this guy's so fucking real, man. Like he's
Oh
just
yeah,
laying
yeah.
it all out there, man. And by the way,
Oh,
he's got
yeah.
a wonderful book, The Heroin Diaries, like where he goes into stuff
Oh,
in even
yeah.
more
Oh, yeah.
detail. I mean, he's just had an incredible journey. Let's say that. And
Well, speaking of Nikki Sixx, I mean, I dressed up like Nikki Sixx for Halloween as a kid.
That's awesome.
I mean, I
That's
used to
awesome.
shoot music videos in my room, and I would put the makeup on,
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
I had the wig. I mean, I was a crew head at like 10 years old. I mean, I was like all in, So, but I'll tell you the way it happened, it's thanks to Michael, because Michael, again, he championed the film and getting the film made from the very beginning.
Mhm.
And, he took the film to Alan Kovac. He took the script, sorry, to Alan Kovac, and Alan Kovac, who is a legendary manager of many big bands, and so he's managed Motley Crue for decades, and managed and if you go back in his history, because he all the bands you've named and that are in the film and our soundtrack, he basically manages. But when you go back in his history, like he managed everybody, going back to like Duran Duran and Meatloaf and Blondie and like just
and
tons
even
and tons of bands.
Biggest one is he managed to be a really nice guy when you meet him.
Oh, really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he's the best.
I just wanted to get a good joke out there. Sorry.
Terrible.
Proceed.
So when Michael brought him the script, he right away connected. He had just produced The Dirt.
Yeah.
Motley Crue,
I love that
right?
movie.
Yeah,
really, that's a fun movie.
A fun movie. And I mean, and what's funny is it's one of the few biopics that I actually loved, because I think most biopics are just, the formula's kind of tired, and just I'm not a fan typically. I feel like it's just the formula's been kind of done to death.
The last good one was like what, Selena.
Oh yeah, yeah.
No, I got my brother shaking his head. No, I love
Selena, don't fall for my brother's horrendous sense of humor. Just be careful. Watch out. He sets horrendous booby traps that I'll fall into. We all fall into. Just, you got to be careful.
Great, dude. Come on.
No, but the dirt. Like, what, this is before Alan Kovac this came into, we both watched The Dirt. I was like, wow, now that's a fucking band biopic. Like,
I know,
so entertaining, and it had balls. Like, it was like, I remember when I watched it, I was like, they fucking made this and put this out. Like,
I know. Exactly.
Like, I couldn't believe they put it out. I was like, wow. It was very true to the book, because I read the book when it came out. And so anyway, Alan had tasted that, and then what happened was he read the script to the Retaliators, and because there were so many bad guys in the script, there's so many villains that come in and out, and there's this, again, without giving too many things away, there's this whole underworld, and then there's these sort of, men that become and women that become sort of these subhumans. He sort of just had this vision of, well, what if we did a throwback to the glory days of when movies and big rock soundtracks were an event, and let's do a big, huge rock soundtrack, and let's do collaborations with artists, and let's do music videos, and let's and let's just have the artists be, we'll just have them be cameos as some of these bad guys. And what do you think? And we were like, oh my God. It was just, honestly, it still just doesn't feel like it actually happened. I mean,
I know, right? To have all those big name rock stars.
Oh, well, here's the other crazy thing is that as we got so lucky, because as these names got thrown out, we had no idea if they could act, right? So when they got nervous, so it was like
nervous. I was like,
Jacoby, what about Jacoby?
But it's like, if we put one of these guys in a good role, it's like, or any role. I mean, every role is important.
Yeah.
You just hope it's like, God, I hope they don't stink it up or whatever. But Michael, man, Michael's worked with them, and we just lucked out. I mean, how it got casted. I mean, every single one, I love every single performance. Okay. I mean, literally, Darren, you were about to go on Jacoby. Take it, because Jacoby
got
probably my favorite.
Jacoby from Papa Roach got a pretty critical role in the film, and we're sitting there going, man, and I grew up with Papa Roach, love Papa Roach, and I'm sitting there going, man, Jacoby's gonna be this like pivotal bad guy. and he absolutely kills it in the movie,
yeah.
and
Kills it,
is
man.
just
So good.
fantastic, you know. And Ivan from Five Finger had to
Yes.
be the
So
leader
good.
of this, you know, motorcycle gang, and he just
Yeah.
completely, I mean, he just, you don't even think twice about it. I mean, if you didn't, the goal we went for, and Michael had the vision and stuck with it with the
Mhm.
directors and with him, and I feel like we really nailed it. It was like, if you didn't know these bands, you wouldn't blink and you would just go, this is the actor that had that role.
Right.
Um, and of course, you know, Tommy Lee was a strip club DJ. So it's like,
But
you
yeah,
know,
of course. Of course.
you know, we had, you know, we
That's
didn't
where
want to
got
have
little-
it be too much of a stretch, right? It was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
let's
yeah.
just, you know, let's make it feel comfortable, right?
You gotta have
Hey,
fun. You gotta have fun
hey,
with it. You know what I mean? Like, we know what this is. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
let's have a little fun.
Tommy
you know?
Lee in the strip club and
Fun.
girls, girls, girls. I mean, come on.
I mean, yeah. Come on, man. It's like you have to succumb to the film's just not giving a fuck, you know, at that point. You know, it's like,
Totally.
yeah,
If
we
you're
got Tommy Lee at strip
if-
club, slap the stripper's ass. All right. What the fuck you want from me? You know, you don't
Yeah,
like
if
it.
when we, you know, we were so shocked at the, I mean, the Tommy Lee slapping the stripper's ass makes me think of, there are many critics that point that moment out and point it out in kind of a fun way, and they say like, look,
Get the
this is a
humor,
movie
yeah.
where Tommy Lee's a strip club DJ slapping a stripper in the ass. This is a movie where, you know, a guy says, you know, that this Coke is as white as Snow White's butt cheeks. I mean, there's a, if you're not in on the fact that this movie is a love letter to exploitation films, because that's what this movie is.
So there's like a humorous,
There's a subversive, there's a completely subversive,
there's still an
you know,
earnestness. Yeah, there's still an earnestness.
there's an earnestness to it, but it's all a disguise. It's all hiding this complete, and so but what was funny was, we just knew there would be people that would not get that, and we knew that not
of course,
for everybody. And I always tell the story and always laugh about the day before. We had no idea. We ended up getting into 30 film festivals, getting nominated and winning like 12.
It was insane.
All these awards,
Wow.
best picture and best this and that, and we got nominated for best screenplay and all this crazy shit.
Awesome.
We got, Michael got best actor and all this crazy stuff. We never in a million years would have guessed that. And when we were only we're going into one festival, not knowing what the response was going to be, and all of our reviews were embargoed for 30 days. So we had no idea what one review said for a month. And so we went out to lunch the day before our reviews were going to drop. And I sat down with Jeff and I just said, Jeff, I bought him lunch and I just said, buddy, listen, we're going to get fucking filleted tomorrow. Okay. So I was like, I just don't want, we're proud of what we did.
Yeah, reinforced. Yeah, you know, the old.
You know, I'm like, look, we made a movie that we're fucking proud of, and if 3 people get it, then fuck yeah, then those are 3 people that we can hang with and be proud that we made a movie that will sit up on their shelf and awesome. And everybody else, fuck it, you know. But don't let the million people that call us assholes and say that we're, you know, that we're misogynists and that we're and that, like, because people are gonna rake us over the coals for this movie.
Yeah, of course,
you know. And Jeff was like, okay, no, that's good to hear this, and blah blah blah. And we woke up the next morning, because the festival was in London, so it happened while we were asleep, essentially, because they're a day ahead. And the head of the festival called us and said, he goes, well, gentlemen, he goes, you have the what was he goes, you have the fan favorite of the entire film festival. And we said,
Oh my
fan,
God.
no, the crowd pleaser. And we
Yeah.
went, the crowd pleaser? And he goes, I recorded the audience because I wanted you guys to hear it. And he sent us the audience. And I mean, we couldn't stop laughing because we're hearing the whole ending with all these huge laughs, the eyeball and all this stuff.
Yes.
And we're just going, oh my gosh. And it was this huge sold out audience. And then the reviews came in. And, you know, from that day till now, we ended up sticking to 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's
Really?
after getting, we were reviewed total by, who knows, 100 or more reviews, but Rotten Tomato reviews 42. We're at 88%.
Yeah.
In a 1,000 years, I
never
would have
predict
never
that.
predicted that many
That's
people would
really
get it.
good.
It's amazing. Now, we still had those funny reviews where, you know, Jeff and I like crack up. There would be reviews that would be like, well, it looks like your two high school bullies wrote a script, wrote a movie, and it's called The Retaliators. And we'd be like, oh my God. Or it'd be like, well, this movie is the most resolutely sexist movie ever made. Meanwhile, they don't even know the backstory is like a love letter to our sister, basically, but it's the most resolutely sexist movie. You know? So I mean,
the exploitation genre usually gets tagged with that. I mean,
true.
If you don't get the exploitation genre, you're never gonna get the subversiveness of it. You know, it's exploitation is an FU to everybody. It's like trying to explain
that's what it is.
Metal music, or it's trying to explain horror. It's right. You know, you don't explain it. You just enjoy it.
Yeah, you don't explain it. You kind of live for the absurd sometimes. You know,
it takes the piss. It takes the piss out of it. You know, it's like I remember Tarantino said when somebody asked him, why did you spell Inglorious Bastards wrong? He's like, I would never ever, answering that question would take the piss out of it. I would never answer that question. You know what I mean? Like,
but like you're right, how like horror and rock and roll, like how that all combines, like
totally
early on. Like my favorite films were the ones that had horror and metal in it, like Demons 1 and 2. The Crew songs were in, I think it was Demons 2.
That's cool. Yeah, I didn't know that.
I love Demons. I didn't know. You know what? I didn't know Crew was in Demons 2. I never saw Demons 2.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, they weren't in it, but their song was. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What are your like big favorite horror movies?
I like old school horror too. I mean, like Demons 1 and 2. I love that. And you know, Pieces, like you said, that was another good one. Of course, I like the Chucky and A Nightmare on Elm Street and all that. But like one of my favorite horror movies, and it wasn't like the acting was cheesy. Night of the Demons. Did you ever see that one?
Yeah,
that's like one of my favorite horror movies. Like I love that movie. I could watch that all the time.
That's really the girl with the tongue on the front cover, right?
Yes.
The great.
And then remember the girl, she puts the thing of lipstick in her breast.
Yeah. You know what? I need to, Jeff, you need to see that one. I haven't seen it in a long time. It is Liana Quigley in
her?
that?
Yeah, she's the one that puts the thing in her breast.
She's the one, right?
Yeah.
I have a signed Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, that's a classic too.
Oh yeah,
God.
we're huge. Yeah, I have a Liana Quigley with a heart signed Return of the Living Dead on the wall.
I love it.
Yeah.
She is so sweet. I met her at one of the horror cons in
Yeah.
in Philly, and
Cool.
she was like so amazingly nice, and I chatted with her, and even the other girl from Night of the Demons, the like the main girl, the one with the dark hair, and she was there
Yeah.
too at the horror convention, and
Oh,
I was like
cool.
speaking to her as well, and then I saw I'm the guy that interviewed you both, and she's like, oh, I say Grue. She, oh my god, that's you, and then she like gave me a hug and stuff. I was like, oh my god.
Oh, that's sweet.
That's sick.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah,
It's-
exactly.
You know, it's cool that you're a Chucky fan, Group, is
Mhm.
our editor, Randy Bricker, who we're continuing to work with. We're
Yeah.
developing a new script with right now, a new
Okay.
movie with him and Michael. He edited 2 Chuckies. He edited Bride of Chucky
Okay.
and
Seed of
what was
Chucky.
the other one, Jeff?
Was it
Which
Seed of
one?
Chucky? Was it Seed of
Seed
Chucky?
of Seed of Chucky,
And
Bride of Chucky, and he does the Chucky series. He did it from the pilot all the way till now.
Oh, the Chucky.
So when
I
he- when
love
he-
the series.
Yeah.
When he left the Retaliators, right when the day he walked out of, when we finished, the day we wrapped on editing the Retaliators, he went straight to Chucky, and he went, hey, guess what? We're like, what? He's like, because he'd done 2 Chucky movies, and he went, I'm going straight to a brand new Chucky series. And we're like, no way. And he was like, yeah. He's
Oh
like,
my
keep it under wraps. And we're like,
That was
holy
cool.
shit. So we
Yeah.
heard about it way early.
Aw.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Chucky movie?
Mine is actually Bride of Chucky, and like one of my like
Oh.
dream like guests to have on my show is Jennifer Tilly. Like I would
Yeah.
die if I ever had her on the show. I wouldn't be able to talk.
That's cool. Yeah.
She
Right
seems
on.
cool.
She really does. Like I would love to interview her for the show, but unfortunately, every time I reach out to her team, they always shoot me down. So
Mhm.
Well, if we ever figure out a way to get her on the show, we'll do that for you.
okay.
I'm not making any promises, but I'll pull some strings. All right, buddy. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm all Darren. Oh, you're right there. Hey.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And where could fans watch your amazing horror metal music throwback to the old school horror? Like where could fans watch this amazing film at?
Well, they can't
It's-
watch it here. They can't watch it here. Okay.
Out of your house.
Okay, they
it-
can. Just send me a message.
The Retaliators is available on VOD everywhere you rent or buy movies. So Amazon, iTunes, Vudu. And then it is available. It just came out on Blu-ray just this month. And it's at, I believe, all physical Best Buy locations. So it was really cool. I went to my local Best Buy, and yeah, there it is.
This is the one I got from our local Best Buy. Yeah,
Oh, I love
There it
it. Look
is.
at that.
I kept it sealed. I haven't cracked her open. 'cause I'm gonna
Oh
sell
my
it on eBay,
god, nice.
when I can't afford my heroin habit anymore.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah.
Still sealed.
I don't know why I held it so long, but I did. Just like I'm just an idiot. Just like yeah.
So yeah, it's available at anywhere where you buy. You can order Blu-rays, and then it will be coming to streaming very soon. We have a deal cooking right now, so that will be happening. Announcements coming soon. So we'd love to, if you have us back, we'll come and announce when
Yes,
we have that show out.
Definitely, like this interview has been fun. Like I mean, we're talking about all the stuff that I love, horror and metal.
Awesome.
So yeah, of course. Like I would love for you guys to come back.
Cool, man.
Sweet.
Anytime,
Sweet.
anytime.
Hell
and
yeah.
and lastly, is where can fans follow you both at?
Yeah, check us out on Instagram at the gear at _gear_brothers, and
Okay.
it's gear GEARE. So at the_gear_brothers. On Instagram, we'll post pictures, articles, any sort of event.
The occasional Steven Seagal clip,
There you go. Okay. Yeah.
Thing he does
Yeah.
in Russia, his demonstrations.
Yeah, Steven Seagal demos, whatever.
Photos of Jennifer Tilly. No, I'm a joke.
Yeah, no, hey, bro, we'll keep you abreast of any developments.
Yeah, we'll see what Randy has. We'll see if he's got.
Well, thank you guys again so much for coming on, and definitely when the film is about to go streaming, we'll definitely gonna come back and do it again.
Well, thanks for
Hell
having
yeah,
us on, man. You're such an awesome, cool guy, man, and we
Thank you. I
we'd love
appreciate
nothing more
it.
to come back and bug you again. So
Yeah, definitely, man. We'll talk more horror and metal and crew.
heck yeah,
let's do it. Crew with Grue. I love it. I'm
Crew with
in.
Grue.
Crew with Crew. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we'll definitely have a good night, guys.
All right, buddy.
have a good night, man.
Thanks
you so
for having us, man.
Definitely, yes.
much.